That was my knees. I hope the microphone picked up my knees popping as I stood up.
The reality of being in your 40s.
No kidding.
Not just 40, but in your 40s.
I mean, I'm late 30s.
Wait, what?
Plus a couple.
I was going to say, with a few years of celebrating being in your late 30s.
Late 30s with a couple years of experience.
I was laughing earlier because a friend of ours he had shared a post on Instagram that said, "Gay men against overhead lighting." And I laughed because of that picture we took when we were working on this episode. I was, the lighting was harsh and you had a hat on, and so your face looked nice, but mine just was awful. And I responded.
So you're upset that you got out angled.
I mean, you had some advantage with your hat that created some shadow, but I responded and I was like, can I sign this petition because I was violated by overhead lighting just last night? And he responded and said, "Yes, you may join our class action lawsuit." So I sent him the photo and I was like, see, just disrespectful. But I just feel seen and I feel appreciated that I've been accepted into their class action lawsuit.
You made it. Well, let me know when the check comes in.
Yeah, right. I will. We'll get our $5.
$5.
But really, I just need the overhead lighting to go away.
That's not the thing.
It created such a 5-head. I was like, man.
All right. I like that. Well, I think you look beautiful all the time, sweetheart.
Thank you.
On that picture.
Thank you.
But let's do podcast stuff.
Yeah, let's talk podcast stuff. Thank you to everybody who listened to our first 2 episodes.
True. Thank you. Thank you all.
To episode 3 of our next chapter. I'm Andrea.
Oh, I'm Matt. Oh, we have a thing now.
Fancy. This is where we put our music.
Sure.
And go. Okay, we're back.
And we're back. So, last week we talked about this week being all about sharing plots.
Yeah.
And story ideas, and we had homework. And we did that homework actually. But I just didn't feel like we were ready to talk about that yet. Like, it feels like we bit off a little bit more than we could chew. Then we need to step back.
Well, it came about organically. We, went to talk a little bit about our plots and share a little bit with each other. But we very quickly, the conversation pivoted to things that, we're learning as we go. We've not written a novel before. So we came across things that, we realized, we need to discuss this before we even get to
building blocks.
Plots. Yeah, building
blocks. Lots and lots of building blocks. And including probably one of the most important ones is the main truth, right? The core truth or the tenet.
What are we trying to say?
What are we trying to say?
The message?
What's the message of the book? What is going to keep the story moving while our characters find their way through it?
And we do still have our homework. So we do a bonus episode that once we release a newsletter, when you sign up for that, you'll get the bonus episode.
Teasing something we don't have yet.
We don't have it yet, but when we announce it, y'all will be able to hear.
It's going to blow your mind.
Our amazing plots that we came up with and as our homework.
Our pre-plots.
Yeah, but that'll be the bonus episode.
That's the bonus episode. Today, I think we talk themes. Maybe we talk a little about characters and what we value in characters.
Yeah.
And I think that'll help us both shape the next step, which is maybe the story. We'll see. We'll see how this goes and how our continued work, our nightly work.
Pivoting a little. Come along the ride with us.
Come on. Come along the ride.
So what are some of the truths that we've started to discuss?
So, last week we talked things like enemies to lovers and, all that kind of stuff. I think truth-wise, what this is meant to do is to be the thing that the audience kind of takes away at the end.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we've seen a lot of examples in the past of, past trauma, like the ability to overcome trauma in a relationship, in your life. And that goes beyond just the person's core conflict or their fear or their whatever their personality is. But the book tells the story of overcoming trauma being a good thing and okay, and there's light at the end of that tunnel. So that's one of the ones that kind of been kicking around. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, we live in a pretty trauma-filled time, and everybody's carrying their own trauma. So that may be one way to go.
Yeah, I think too, we kind of, as we discussed this, we started doing some research. Like we went on a little road trip with our 17-year-old Jackson to a competition that our 13-year-old Oliver was in
Most
Wake.
stressful drive of all time. Bobby.
Well, Jackson drove.
Jackson drove.
Our lives flashed before our eyes.
Oh my goodness.
A number of times, but we made it there and back safely. And it was nice to have a little road trip with him. He's going to be a senior next year. And so I feel like a little bit of the countdown to him moving out is on. And any bits of time that we get with him are always exciting and fun. And so while we were driving, we had a little bit of this discussion, and you were kind of peppering him with some questions about what does he think? How does he view relationships, and what makes a successful relationship, or what do you think is important? And so I think it was interesting. We have our perspective as like the old couple that have been together since we were his age. But, just with almost 25 years of experience behind us and a marriage. And so then him, who's like really just starting into that world of like, what does he see as his perspective? He's an avid reader and, watches.
When you forgot to mention the very first thing he said, I asked him the question, what is something that should be valued in a successful relationship? And he sat there for a moment and he said, well, I just don't know of any successful relationships.
That felt good.
That felt great.
That felt real good.
Thanks, shots fired.
To be fair, I think he was thinking of like friends and people her age. Yes, I don't think he was thinking of old.
He wasn't thinking dusty old love.
No, not the dusty, crusty love like ours. But no, and it was just interesting to him because he was really focusing a lot around communication, which is something that's really important to us, and deciding what you share or don't share with the public about your relationship. Talking about some couples really keep it all in house, and when things are going on, their friends and the people around them may not know. And it was just interesting. You and I navigated that too at that age and just throughout our relationship. And so it was kind of interesting to get that perspective of just thinking through
perspective.
Yeah, the perspective of the youth. But yeah, I mean, there's so many themes or truths that really kind of come to the surface of like, accepting people's imperfections, we navigated things like that in our own relationship. And
yeah, perfectionism's a big one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thinking perfect or thinking relationship is perfect all the time and that sort of thing. And just showing more of a realistic kind of love, which it actually takes us to one of the things we keep talking about. We keep circling ourselves here back and forth, is that the idea that, relationship just takes work, and it's like, it's always growing and it's always evolving.
Yeah. Like it's an active thing. It's not passive. It's something you have to choose. And I feel like that's something that's really core to us and our relationship. Even I remember when we were in high school and just realizing very early like how important communication was. And we always said that, like, we have to talk to each other. We have to tell each other what's going on. And it's been interesting how that's evolved as we've grown and changed and things. But we've always been very intentional about our relationship, like trying to prioritize date nights, or even if it's just watching a movie together or doing things like, reading the books together and stuff. All of that is in the effort to prioritize our relationship. And so I think, that has been something that's just been really important to us, that relationships take work and they have to be a priority. And sometimes you have to say no to other things because you need to prioritize yourselves. I feel like the times that maybe we've struggled the most, I mean, we talk a lot about how relationships are also cycles. There's times where we feel like roommates or business partners or whatever. And then, there's the time where you're really in that romantic space. And, I think the times that I feel like we were the most distant from each other, it was because we weren't prioritizing time together. And so I just think, and then that's for various reasons. We've had career stuff going on. We've been raising children. Like, it's not for like lack of effort, but it is easy to get away from it and stop focusing on it, especially when you get comfortable. And so that's something I feel like we keep talking about with our book, is like really just zoning in on that idea of like not getting comfortable. Like it's good to feel safe and secure in your relationship, but not taking it for granted, because that's something that we really care about in our own relationship.
Yeah,
we want.
And we see a lot of that stuff in books too, right? Where we're prioritizing job, or they're prioritizing something else other than the relationship, and they have to kind of break through that wall that they put up and built around themselves to find love and to be open to love. And something we always talk about is, getting to the point of being empty nesters.
Yeah.
We're not far from it now, but we've been thinking about it for the past 5, 10 years, 15 years about, yes, like, this is our life.
Can you tell we have big feelings about our babies flying the nest?
Yes.
We're trying so hard to prepare ourselves.
And that's preparing ourselves, in this case, was going on date nights and making sure that we stay close because,
we always said, hey, when you guys grow up and move on, like, we still have to like each other. That's what we would tell our kids when we were like, yeah, we're going to go to the movies or we're going to go to dinner or whatever. Like, we want them to see us prioritizing each other too in our relationship because we came first. We always try to explain that to them too, of like, hey, he's my number one. I'm his number one. Like, we started this. I swear, are you going to find a way to bring up that dog in every episode?
She's the third member of the podcast.
We did have a request from a fan to dedicate an entire episode to Stella.
Oh, we can have Stella talk.
Oh my goodness.
We can do a whole episode on Stella talk.
But we've just always felt it was important to present a united front to the boys of like that we came first. We started all this. This family exists because, we fell in love and we wanted to spend our lives together. And so that's something that we have thought about for a long time is like, it is their job to grow up and move on and have their own life or their own family. And that should be separate from us in a way. And so you and I have really thought a lot about continuing to work on ourselves and being people that we like individually. Like, I like myself. I like hanging out with myself. That's important. And that's something each of us have worked on.
Yeah.
But we also have worked a ton on spending time together and making sure that we stay connected and that we continue to remember why we choose to be here. And so that's going back to like the active part of love.
And I think in the context of the book that we're talking about, what we're talking about is more of the happily ever after end of it, right? We're talking these people, we have learned this lesson over many years and found our way there. And, having our characters find their way through that path and end up kind of telling the story of commitment. At that case, and in our case, being committed to the relationship and making sure.
And I think that's something else we like kind of circle around too is like the importance of respect in a relationship. And we really want our characters to be in a place in their lives where like they're grown. That's also why we want them to be able to.
Yeah, let's talk characters. That's a good point.
Because I think, there is an important time for people in their lives to want to be single and figure out who they are and, play the field and things like that. But you and I, just because of where we're at in our lives, we also want our characters to be a little more grown, a little more like ready for a real relationship and mentally open to it. We're not looking for the games and things like that. And so, we talked a lot about like a respect in a relationship. Don't embarrass me. Don't sneak around on me. Don't lie to me. Like, talk to me about how you're feeling. And I want our characters to be that way too. I want them mentally to be really ready and open to the idea of a real relationship that might go somewhere.
Right.
I
think it's something that's one of the things they're going to have to get to. Like, it's one of the conflict hurdles that we're going to have to get them from whatever situation they're in, whether that's I'm not ready to be in a long term or I'm only about my career or whatever the thing is, to that realization that, I'm ready for something real. And I think
authenticity is so important, like representing who you are and where you're at. And I think sometimes people aren't trying to be deceptive. They just don't know. They haven't had the reflection or the aha moment themselves to realize where they're really at. So that could also be part of the journey. But I think authenticity of the characters, even if it's not as they're navigating self-discovery.
Yeah.
I really want that. I want them.
And we've talked about the characters being, like you said, like maybe mid-30s. Or even 40s, and that brings in things like have they been divorced, or have they been widowed,
do they have children?
They have children. And that's something we definitely need to work through as we build the characters out.
And what kind of baggage are they carrying?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that's I was thinking about that too, and we kind of talked about it. Was a whole nother episode could be just fears and flaws, right? Because that's what's going to end up driving our story and be the thing that connects the audience to the characters. What is their flaw? What is their, what do they have? What's the truth that they believe that's not true, that we give them that aha moment and let them become the new person, come out of that chrysalis to enjoy love and be part of the relationship.
Yeah, and I think that's authentic too. It's that a lot of times people are held back by fear, even when they don't realize that that's what it is, like to put the name to it. So I think that that's good.
I guess more in a general sense, though, like when you start talking about female leads, what are some of the things that you really value?
Well, something that I really started to think about, just in my own journey of like what I would want for our female lead to represent, like as a character. Of course, I talked last time about I want an empowered woman. I want somebody who's confident and who can handle her own, and like not that like I don't need a man, but I can live a whole full life on my own. I don't have to have a man to be complete, like I do want that for her, but also I want her to want the companionship and the partnership and the romance and just to build a life with somebody.
I mean, that could be the character story in itself, right? Like I don't need no man to, well, I found the right person. I found the right partner. I found
you with your tattoo. You didn't want a tattoo until you found the right artist.
Oh, that's true.
You fell in love with your artist.
That's true.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden things change. So I think it is like that. You can have a perspective until you find the person that makes the work of it and
makes the world make sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want that for her. But the other big thing I've been thinking a lot about, there's a whole like genre right now, which I love, around like body representation for women specifically, of like the main female characters being plus size. And that's something that's really personal to me, and that I started thinking a lot about, like for our female lead is, the majority, almost all of my adult life, I was a large plus size woman. And over the last 2.5 years, I've lost 170 pounds. What? Yeah. Oh, surprise. Did I not tell you?
You look different. I knew when I woke up this morning, I thought, wait a minute.
It's different. No, you've been my biggest cheerleader on this journey these last 2.5 years. But, I just started thinking about, like, for a long time when I read these stories, if I'm reading along and I'm really liking this girl and they have this great banter and, oh my gosh, this guy, he's so fun and, sexy and flirty or whatever. And then they describe her, and every time she's just impossibly fit, gorgeous. This is just the fullest hair you've ever seen, it would like disconnect me a little bit, because I didn't always see I didn't see myself that way, and that just did not describe me. And so then you kind of disconnect from relating to the character. And so when I started thinking about our lead, can
I give you a quick counterpoint then?
Can I finish making my point?
Sure.
So I want her to, I think I'm struggling of how we describe her physically, if at all. Like, we could say color of hair, color of eyes, but how important is it to describe her body? And, like I said, for me, I lived many years as a plus size woman. And so I think that that's important for representation and things like that. Now I'm kind of, I guess, mid-size or whatever they call it. But it's like, the world is different to me. I experience it differently. And so that's been a big part of like the psychological journey of my health and wellness overall journey, has been navigating the world as a smaller person. And so that's something I at least want us to be considerate of when we're describing our characters, because I do want to be inclusive, and I want anyone who's reading this to be able to see themselves as our leads or as characters in this book, to be able to relate and not feel suddenly excluded when there's some, just impossibly fit person or whatever who just got abs for days. And I want to be intentional about what we decide when we describe and build our person. So counterpoint, go.
So let me give you two thoughts. One is a pre two thoughts. You see, it's my ADHD. I'm giving you thoughts on thoughts. So the pre-thought is, I agree with you. I'm on your team. I agree with you. Counterpoint would be, I think a lot of the times those characters are written to be aspirational, right? So it's not necessarily that they look exactly like you, but someone that you could aspire to be, right?
Yeah.
And advertising, where I've been forever, like that is 90% of it, right? And it's funny because I think what you're identifying is that there's been a huge change in representation over the last 5 years even.
Right.
where ads are no longer just like hot people doing hot people stuff. It's like real people doing real things, because the audience doesn't want that anymore. It's not, everything doesn't have to be polished, things have shifted. So that's kind of one thought. Like, I'm with you 100%. The thing that actually inspired, like, in my brain was, why don't we have a character that has gone through that transformation, right? So no matter where you are on that spectrum, whether you've gone through the losing weight thing or not, like, you can still identify. And I think that actually leads to some great inner conflict, right? Maybe there's some confidence stuff, or maybe there's...
Yeah, and I think that's important for me too, is like that at any size, at any shape, whatever, like, you are deserving of love, and we're happy ever after, and your big romance story. And like, you know, even for me, like, I was happy and confident at every size. You made me feel sexy and confident at every size. And so, like, I think that's important no matter what and I lean towards the female. I know that, you know, body dysmorphia and image and things like that, that is not a, you know, female, male, whatever thing. I mean, it's everybody has their struggles and things like that. But I just, because, you know, being a female is my experience, that's what I kind of talk more about and lean more about, thinking with what this female of our story is going to be like. I would never want it to feel like, oh, she has to be some certain way, or like you said, things have shifted over the last 5 years. I don't want it to seem like the being fit or being hot or whatever is the aspirational, and you only get your love story or your big romance or whatever when you look a certain way. Yeah. And
you don't like, find love just because you've made some kind of physical transformation.
I think about, I mean, we were 16 when we got together. I think about how much I changed.
My
15, I mean, no. Oh my goodness.
A little bit.
But I think about like how much my body has changed yours. Like, same. I've had children, and I just think like I have experienced my love story and my romance at every size, at every shape, at every level of fitness. And it truthfully, like, it didn't impact the emotional piece of it, the psychological piece of it. That just has different elements. So I want to be conscious about that. Like, I was thinking it's going to be important when we get to that point to have like sensitivity readers and things, not just for this, but in general, for things that we might...
Sensitivity reader for my life.
Right. I know. Just somebody to follow you around.
Follow me around and help me out.
But yeah, that's just something I was thinking about, you know, as something that is going to be really important to me as we...
authenticity. I think there's a big piece there. And the other piece for me, just thinking about the book, is how do we make it different from everybody else writing romance? And we've talked about older characters being one way we're differentiating ourselves. So maybe that's another piece, right? Where the characters are not traditionally X, right?
Absolutely.
And not, you know, they kind of still find their way.
Yeah. I think it's just going to be important to develop them like that. And so, you know, I've made my big stand of like what I want for our female. What do you want for our
Before we leave, you have to give me one name. Ready, go, for your character. Go.
Oh, I love the name Anna.
Anna. Okay. I like it.
Just because that was a baby girl name
that is true.
1,000 years ago when we were talking baby names.
That will definitely not be it, but I like it.
If you can't veto my name right now.
I just guesstimate. Well, it's going to depend on the character. Name
Absolutely. Yeah. It'll develop with her. I have several though, but yeah. And in our bonus episode yet to be recorded, when we share our, you know, sample plots, I did name all my characters, so
you
could hear some sample names there too.
I think on the male side, some things that I've been kind of kicking around and just mulling. What is really interesting to me about this genre, and when we read these books together, is how much it is a guide to what women want in a guy, and it just always makes me laugh. And it's simple stuff. It's art on the wall. It's having a bed frame, a bed frame.
Yeah, no, that's
the bar is so low. It makes me laugh.
Which is real. That is the real world. Like a friend of ours who was dating a guy. He is a guy, and he was telling me like, do you know how low the bar is? Like, if someone says they're thirsty and I get them water, I'm like a great guy. And I'm like, yes, it doesn't that tell you how sad
tell you,
the reality of our world. That's why I say I want our man to be grown. I want him to be ready
Yeah.
for a relationship. But yeah, when we started reading Abby Jimenez's books, that was one of the first things you said of like,
so funny.
wow, I know this is like helping us be in a romantic space, but truthfully, like if something ever happened to you, I would really know how to like go out and get the ladies. You're like, it is such a great guide for like what women are looking for, how to make sure they feel safe and seen. And yeah.
But a big piece of that is something I wanted to talk about was masculinity. You have like how I just feel like we see so much toxic masculinity. And it's just draining. Like it pulls down the story, it pulls down the characters. It's slow. It slows everything down. And so,
but in what way? Because I think that women love to read about a strong man who is very masculine in a lot of ways, but like in your mind, like what do you think makes that different? To move away from like the toxic piece, because I think masculinity is important. I think there's a lot of reasons that women are drawn to these kinds of books.
I think it's peacocking in masculinity, right? Where
goes back to the authenticity.
It goes back to being authentic, or I do feel like a lot of these times, even with people we know and characters and other media, when you see somebody with that toxic masculinity, what it's actually doing is covering something else up, right? And I don't want to start there from a character perspective. I want this person, like you said, to be grown.
They've already done some of the work, whether it's their
not be a dude bro, not like all this kind of stuff, because not only is that to me not exciting, it's a turnoff for me, for these guys. I think that what I'm not talking about is what you're talking about, like the being a man and being romantic and, this bringing a presence and that kind of stuff. And romantic masculinity is one thing. In a safe space is good. But just to have this person constantly starting from this.
It's like a place of fear sometimes, I think, or like feeling like you have to fit in this box. You have to be this way to be a guy or to be whatever.
I think for our generation, that's true. I think the newer generation's not as much. I don't feel like they're able to kind of break those things. But when it comes to our generation, that's kind of how everything was, be a man and rub some dirt on it. And, we don't show feelings and that kind of stuff. When in reality, that's where life is.
Everyone has feelings.
Everybody has
like feelings. Everyone poops. Everyone has feelings.
Everybody has feelings. And
I think a lot of times what we see too, and guys who are struggling to express themselves, is they having very big feelings and they don't know what to do with it. And I think, I think even since we were young, I feel like you've always kind of charted a little bit different course as far as like how you presented yourself. And what I've noticed over time is that so many of like the guys in our lives, they feel so comfortable around you too. And a lot of times they'll end up sharing things with you because you're a little more vulnerable. You'll talk about your mental health. Like to me, talking about what I really want for our male lead, I want somebody who's open about their mental health and their struggles or what they've been through, their journey. Yeah, absolutely. Because we're human. We've all had that. And so that's one thing that I feel like is that, especially for like the little boys as they've grown up, there is so much of like, don't cry, don't this. And it's like, yes, no, it's okay to cry. It's okay to have feelings. Like, let's learn about what to do with it. Because I think a lot of times men who struggle when they're older is like, they never learned to self-regulate or they never knew how to deal with those feelings. And so I think that's a gift that you have, is that I don't know if it was your ADHD or what, but like you just had no shame about how you were feeling, or like you'd say like, God, I just feel like I need to cry, and what's interesting is I feel like that puts like the guys around you at ease, and then they are more their authentic selves. They will open up. They'll talk about how they're feeling or whatever with you while y'all are doing guy stuff, playing golf or whatever. But I just think that's so important, because I think that makes all of you better, just as humans, as individuals, as partners, as fathers, like whatever it is, all the ways that you have to show up as men in life. I think that's really important. And so I know.
Yeah. Like you said, that's exactly it. I mean, it's always been important to me to be open and share that stuff. I just, like you said, my mindset is everybody poops.
Yep.
Everybody has feelings. Everybody's going through their own stuff. And the more you shove it down, the more you pretend it doesn't exist. And the more you pretend to be strong, the weaker you actually are.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like it's a handicap and it slows you down. It just pulls your spirit.
Yeah.
And
that's just hard to maintain. Like it's not sustainable long term.
No.
And I don't think I have a hard time seeing how that leads to a successful relationship when you're constantly withholding, because it goes back to communication.
Yeah.
It's like,
Are you ready for a relationship?
you're not giving me your full truth.
Yeah.
If you're trying to protect me from your big feelings, and I'm not getting to be a part of that with you in this relationship and go through this like mental health journey with you or whatever it is, I think then I'm not getting to be part of the relationship in that way. And so it's important to like break through that and be vulnerable and share, because like you said, in the end, it makes you stronger and it doesn't limit you. And so, yeah, I definitely.
And finding your real self and
yeah, and moving beyond fear, even going back to like the themes and the truths that we talked about, like fear is a big motivator, and like and especially from limiting you, and keeping you from achieving the things that you want.
I do have a question for you though.
Yeah.
When it comes to this male character, I personally just a little bit quirky in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
What level of quirkiness should this male character have? Like, we know they need to have like realistic flaws,
right? Yeah,
and they need to be open emotionally, or else, if they're shut off, you're not going to be able to write a story about them, right? They're not going to be talking about their feelings and whatever. But like just straight up quirkiness.
Yeah. So I mean, the correct answer is your level of quirkiness, because that's what I find most attractive.
Okay.
That's the correct
Stop
answer.
this podcast for a minute.
Well, there we go. We'll be right back. But I really think too, that's going to depend on like what his background is or what his job or career is, because so many of like the different careers kind of are, like, people arrive at their careers because of their interests, because of their character traits. And so I think like, I love a quirky guy. I love a guy who's open about mental health. I mean, one of my favorite characters of all of Abby's books is Jacob Maddox and yours truly. He's a doctor. He's very accomplished. He was the chief of medicine at his previous hospital and all this stuff. But as you read the book, you get to know him. It's like you do get to see his little quirks, and he has anxiety, and it's like you get to see how he manages his anxiety. And that was so powerful for me. I love that. I connected so much with him, and I loved getting to be in his head and see all the ways that he was not only like planning for himself and his day, but also how thoughtful he was about her. Like when they would go on dates or when he's getting ready to spend time with her. I really loved being in a space of that. And so I think as far as our guy and how quirky he is.
So let me reset your scale then, because what you're talking about is nuanced quirkiness, this like subtle quirkiness, where I'm talking about, and he's the whatever of chief of medicine, whatever doctor. I'm saying the other end of the spectrum is like somebody being a rodeo clown, and they go to clown college. They wear red.
I don't know that's your like male lead. It could be. Who knows? We'll see where our little plot pitches go. But he could absolutely be a side character or a best friend or something that's a rodeo clown, and we get to see like their little the fun hobbies of the side characters, and then who knows, maybe he becomes a male lead in a future sequel. I mean, maybe
it's called No Clowning Around.
We'll workshop that. But no, I think a lot of it, as we just kind of continue to think about what we want for our characters, like a big part of it, especially at our age, is going to be their career or their job.
Yeah, that definitely drives that. I mean, that drives personality. It drives interests. What they do is their career. Because it's interesting if they've, I don't want to say devoted themselves to their career, but like they're excited about their career and they like their career. That shapes who they are.
Yeah, because if I told you like somebody was a travel writer or a photographer, like what are some characteristics that you would think that maybe they have?
I mean, they're clearly a traveler, right? They're travel writers, so they got to be adventurous. They have to be a little eclectic in that way. And the writing part they're brilliant. If they're a writer, Andrea, brilliant.
No bias.
I can't even tell you.
No bias.
They are the smartest people on earth.
Yeah, but then if you think like if somebody was like a therapist or a psychologist or like even a veterinarian or something like that.
They're going to be squishy or soft or more knowing and empathetic, and right? Like,
yeah, and that's not to create like a broad generalization. We've got some really quirky therapists or veterinarians or whatever it is, but I do think that whatever careers our leads have,
well, it's a shortcut. It's a shortcut to defining a character.
Yeah, because there might be some assumptions made. So I think.
So what are some, if you had to go off the top of your head, some jobs that might be good for?
Well, when we did our pitches, our homework that
Pre-pitch.
kind of got our pre-pitches. Yeah, our homework that we kind of pivoted from. One of my favorites was about a female lead that was a chef, like a high-end chef here in Dallas. And so that was kind of a fun one. Yeah, I mean, like, you're a great cook. I like to eat. So that one was kind of a fun one. I think I also, in my brain, I was thinking like, oh, if we have to do research for these careers or books,
Yeah, we can write off all these dinners, right?
Yeah, we can go to all these high-end restaurants and try the food, especially when we're still recovering from our road trip. We had one of the worst meals and experiences of our lives.
It is odd you say chef after last episode we talked about Love and Time or whatever that movie was, that she was a chef in that movie.
Which one?
The Love and Time, or what are we talking about?
Oh my goodness, Liz, you still cannot remember the name of this
that's how good it was.
We Live in Time.
Oh, We Live.
Lives in.
Right, Casey.
Yes, she was a chef. And Florence Pugh really does cook. She's kind of a chef. I don't think she's like professionally trained, but a little fun fact for you about Florence Pugh. But yeah, so I really like the idea of the chef. I mean, a lot of times too, I draw on my own experience. I was a teacher. I worked in a vet's office in high school and college. I am a counselor. You know, I mean, I think I have such a love for medicine. I would love to write something about somebody who's involved in medicine.
Medicine.
What about you?
My background, I have more of, I don't know, I'm less structured in my careers with advertising, writing, and things like that. So more, I don't want to say more creative, because chef is clearly creative. Everything's creative, but something more like a photographer would be cool. Yeah. Something like that. And then or
some kind of artist.
Just some kind of artist or
designer.
I'm not smart enough to do music stuff, so I'm probably not a musician. I don't know.
We could research it.
Something a little more.
Lots of musicians around us. It might be fun to.
Something more freewheeling, maybe. Something more open.
I really thought you'd do something like the rodeo clown or a pet psychic or competitive dog groomer, anything to get Stella in the story, right?
Yes. All right. Caretaker of Stella is what the job is.
Oh, my goodness.
For our character.
I don't know about that.
Of course, Dale Bale.
But yeah, I mean, I think whatever jobs that they are going to have is going to be really important to who they are and what their journey was that got them to that career. Or maybe the whole thing is that they've been one thing and they've realized like something, they've had their aha moment about their self and their self-discovery. And the book is them changing careers. And maybe that's where the meet cute happens. You know?
How sensitive are you to picking something that is a little more rote, a little more tropey, a little more expected, like a small business owner that owns a flower shop, going something like that direction versus taking half a step and doing something.
I mean, I think that there's great ways to do it. Like we just saw It Ends With Us, Colleen Hoover with Blake Lively just starred in the movie, which I know there's been a lot of drama around that. But going back to like her book and the story, the lead in that story had always wanted to own a flower shop since she was young. And that was her, part of it was her moving to Boston and opening her own flower shop. But then in Forget Me Not by Julie Soto that I mentioned last episode, that was kind of a second chance romance thing where the wedding planner gets partnered up with the florist that gets hired for the wedding is an ex of hers, but it's a guy that owns this floral shop. So I thought that was kind of a fun twist, that it was like the guy that owned the floral shop too. Mm-hmm. So it's not that I'm against it or that I would be sensitive to it. I think it's more like, what's our twist on it? What's our perspective, or like what makes it unique? Even if like I said, I'm a teacher. That's a very, lawyer, doctor, firefighter, teacher, nurse, all the careers that kids can name off the top of their heads. Like, I'm not against doing something like that because that's my profession and I love it. And I know there's so much value to it. But I just think like, how do we make it unique? How do we make it us? How do we make it ours?
I kind of prefer jobs and characters that are, I guess, wealthy in the sense that they don't have to... I
prefer to be wealthy too.
Well, I'm saying we don't have to justify how they went to a nice restaurant, right? Or, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean, I think I totally agree, because for me, a lot of times reading is an escape, and I love to just go live in people's worlds. And so
I got $1.50. Let's get a hot dog.
Wow,
it's fine. Like we did that.
then they're done that. Sometimes still do that. But no, I do love when, even if it's a short explanation, like in the Paradise Problem that Christina Lauren wrote, of like, hey, this broke college girl who's now working at a convenience store, this dude shows up that she used to be fake married to, and he's part of a billionaire family. And so, of course, she would get to go on this lavish trip with him and all this stuff. Like, even if there's a simple explanation for it, I don't necessarily want to spend our writing explaining where the money came from and why people can do this. Like, it's fine to me to just be part of the world.
To just let them
because it's part of my dream. Like, it's part of the fantasy of the escape. I've had harder and harder time reading like dystopian things. Like, I don't know if I would go back and read Hunger Games and things like that again now if I hadn't already read it.
Oh man.
Yeah, I like to think of all the fun ways that, you know, people could travel, or, you know, the fun things that they could do if they had the means. So yeah, I agree.
That definitely pushes me more towards fun careers, you know. Like you said, dog psychic, that'd be fun. Or if they had some kind of weird, quirky, we can do more dog stuff, like competitive dog groomer.
I know. Y'all, please know that there's going to be some stuff with dogs or Stella.
Maybe there's a Stella Foundation. And that's something that shows the character's a good-hearted person because they help the Stella Foundation.
Oh, man. Well,
Stelly Belly Foundation. How about that?
Goodness. And that, I think we've met our limit on talking about Stella in one episode, so... Yeah, no.
You're putting a pause on there?
Putting a pause on it. Yeah, good one. No, I think like instead of pitching stories, I think like we really need to take time to just figure out who is our person, you know, what is it that we want to say? What's the truth?
What is the truth? Yeah.
Yeah. Who are our leads? What are their traits? There you go. Let's go with alliteration.
Nice.
And then how can we make this last one? Because it's like, what do they do? Their careers that tell us more about their character, you know. So what's
their what were the other ones?
Truths. So this is like next episode we're gonna dig further into truths. Like, what do we want to say? What kind of land? I think we need to land on something. I think we're close.
Pretty close.
Yeah, we have some close ideas. But truths, the traits of our characters. You know, we talked about bodies and, you know, their mental health journeys and things like that. And then, trades. Their trades, their careers, their jobs. So yeah, I think we could probably start to pitch a couple ideas.
Yeah.
Pick a truth, pick a trait, or some traits and a trade.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Like try that, build from there.
Try to build from character up a little bit.
Yeah.
I think they kind of have to meet in the middle, right? Our truths need to meet our characters. This plus this equals plot.
Yes.
Basically.
But I will say, I do have a call to action for our listeners. I need you to bully Matt.
What?
So this has been,
bully?
I am calling for people to bully you because as we talk about researching for writing a romance novel, for as long as it's been since this movie came out, that is my favorite movie.
The Flintstones movie with John Goodman. I knew it.
And not
you ever gonna break
this movie either, which you keep trying to get.
Scooby-Doo movie so good.
So bad. No, The Notebook is my favorite movie.
Never heard of it.
And you refuse to watch it. Like, we have been through, like, I was like, what if I was on my deathbed and this was my dying wish to watch this movie with you? And you're like, no, sorry, not going to do it. And it's not like that you have anything against the movie. It's just what?
Pure spite. What are you talking about? It's 15, how old are we?
Because I'm so in love with Noah Calhoun.
5 years worth of spite. Yeah.
Like,
put my foot down.
Jealous?
And I decided not to.
Oh, okay. So it's just a matter of principle.
It's a matter of
There is no principle. There's no foundation to it.
No.
Well, and it's not that you're jealous that I'm in love with Noah Calhoun and Ryan Gosling in the movie. But yes, listeners, I need you to message Matt and try to convince him that for research purposes, it's critical that he watches The Notebook because it's a fantastic movie. It's such a good love story. There's great conflict. You and these you need to watch.
I believe you. Hey, you know what? I believe you so hard, I don't even have to watch it.
I think you're going to write a better romance. And when you talk about a vulnerable guy, Noah.
Fred Flintstone? Oh, I thought you were still talking about the Flintstones movie from like the 90s.
Help me, people. Help me get him to watch this. But you can bully him on our Instagram. You can send him a message at Our Next Chapter podcast.
That's my fault.
Yeah. Let's hear less about that. Tell me how I was right.
Yeah, sorry, my fault. So Instagram is Our Next Chapter Podcast, but our Gmail that you can email
To bully him.
to bully me is Our Next Chapter Pod.
Or persuade, I guess. Bullying is.
Yeah, see, she's calling bully. I'm going to clip that out.
Jude him.
I'm sending that to your employer.
Our Gmail is.
Our Gmail is Our Next Chapter Pod.
At gmail.com.
At Gmail.
So either place you would like, or both. You could message him at both places.
More importantly, I have another thing you can message me about. And this is putting the cart 40 million miles ahead of the horse, the equine. You know what I mean? But I've been thinking about the audiobook version of our non-existent book right now. And I just want to go ahead and audition a couple of voices for this book because I think I'm there. Like one of the main ones is like maybe like a tough New Yorker, right? Like, "Hey, you, Mr. Bulldog, how's about some service?" Which was the first line in my 7th grade play.
I want to marry that man. Is he single?
"Hey, yo, I'm Mr. Bulldog. Hey, you look pretty good in that sweater." I don't know why they would say that. I think that's one way we could go. I think we could also. You already heard my British. Let me think. Let's workshop.
Maybe we should save your accents for those bonus episodes.
You know, back in the early 2000s when these accents weren't offensive. You know, those I know all those accents.
Well, Nancy, this is where the sensitivity person needs to follow you around. No, we'll save all your accents for the bonus episode that you'll get with the newsletter, which is also non-existent at this time.
Man.
But just have that little subscribe finger ready.
Boy, equine's way behind that horse.
I know.
Wait, back a minute.
No, but yeah, please message us. Let us know what you think about the episodes, how things are going. What truths do you find are important?
Yeah, what truth is important to you in a relationship? We've actually been asking. We asked each other. We asked our kids.
Because we also, like, we know, too, that we have been in this relationship for 25 years since we were kids. Like, there's a lot of perspective we don't have. So what is, of value to you in a relationship? What do you really look for? What's the core piece of that?
I think it'd be fun to share some of those in the next episode.
No, I do too. I would love to.
And if you, with or without your name, it's totally up to you. But I think sharing some of these truths would be really important as we build out.
Same with character traits. What do you value in a partner? What do you really, focus on in yourself as you're on your own self-discovery journey? Like, let us know as we craft these characters, and if you think of any more fun trades.
Any more trades, any more.
The right houses for our pitches, but yeah, thank you all so much for listening. Thanks for chatting with me, Matt. I'm excited about our book.
We're getting closer.
I'm so appreciative.
We are doing work in the background. There's a lot of notes and things we've been kicking around, but this is a great space for us to really share.
Yeah, I feel like we're kind of fleshing it out here for sure. But we also just so appreciate, like, so many people around us who've listened have sent us some really great feedback and just encouragement. Like, this is scary. We don't know. We're just navigating it for a first time. We've never written a romance novel before, and so we would love your input, and we just continue to appreciate you listening and subscribing and sharing. Remember that pyramid scheme is very important. We'll share with friends and
rate us,
get them to listen. But just thank you for your encouragement of us as we go along this journey and find our way through while trying to just enjoy our time with each other and hanging out. I like hanging out with you.
I like hanging out with you.
All right. Well, until next time.
Until next time.
I love you.
I love you too.